Yeah, now, stand and cheer for your Talking Basketball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to another edition of the Talking Basketball Podcast. I am Mark.
I am Paul.
And we're doing this slightly differently today.
We are. I am coming from the lunchtime Chichester car park studio.
You're in the mobile studio.
Yes, the mobile studio, getting strange looks.
Wow, that's not unusual for you, is it?
No.
A man in a British car park, sat on his own. People are going to ask questions.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not on my own. There's lots of people around.
Wow.
Anyway, Mark, what a moment in the NBA Cup.
Yes.
What a moment.
Which moment are you referring to?
All of it. All of it.
It's
he has knocked it out the park. Silver's knocked it out the park.
Yeah,
I'm loving it.
He really has. And it's I think what's nice is that even the people who were, I don't get it, or what's the point in it, for some reason they've all suddenly got on board. As soon as you put that little image up and it says quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals, and they made everyone walk past the cup. Did you see that when they were coming in?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was brilliant. I love that. He's like the World Cup where you walk past and you're going to pick it up or you're not going to be picking up. But I loved it.
Yeah.
I like when LeBron walked past it. Well, one of the times he walked past, didn't look at it, and I was like, it's an interesting psychological moment.
Oh, it is.
Because do you look at it? Do you touch it?
And you look at other players, like when Zion walked past, he looked at it like it was oh wow, how cool is that? He I want to say childish, but like childlike. He looked really like, oh, wow, look at that. That's cool as a trophy. Yeah. Like, he looked really excited, and I really like seeing that because he looked really jazzed up for it. And then you get people like Anthony Davis who was pretending to be cool, and you're like, no.
Well, that moment is a real individual psychology moment, isn't it? Like how people will react.
Now, did you see there's a clip floating around where they had some of the players and they'd put some Vegas chips and they were getting them to guess how many chips are in the top of the dish, and all the players were coming off the court from practice and they had to guess. It was like 300, I think, in the end. Spoiler alert. But they're all guessing it, and some of them came out like you think, God, your maths is terrible. But one of them, I think it was Lillard as well, and they went up to it and they were like, oh, that's cool. Okay, he was looking at it and he was touching it. And one of the reporters was like, oh, man, hey, don't touch it. That's bad luck, you know? He's like, nah, don't worry about that. And floating the clips around, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but like that's where all this superstition comes in and stuff like that. I mean, I've seen players in the World Cup, they'll touch it, they'll kiss it before a match, and you think, you know, I don't know, that's like an individual thing, isn't it?
But I think that's the thing they've done well with, certainly with the design of the trophy itself. I think that's why they've done it so well, because like the World Cup, it's something where you look like you want to hold it and hoist it up. Some trophies aren't quite like that. This one is one you go, I want to hold that.
Yeah, I really like the trophy. Yeah. Not so keen on the MVP one, but the actual cup trophy is really nice. I like it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
and it's unique. You look at it and go, you know exactly what it is straight away.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it looks modern. It looks modern without looking tacky. I think they've done a really good job with it. But yeah, what an exciting.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in Vegas, because, like, you know, like I was saying to you the other day, you know, you're going to Indiana, you're in those kind of places. They're going to be, or you know, Milwaukee was the same. It's going to be rolled up, isn't it? It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. And
I was always curious what the atmosphere was going to be like going into Vegas, because our experiences of NBA games in the UK, I'm not going to say are bad, but the atmosphere's not there. The atmosphere's not there because
the crowd aren't educated. They don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, also British, I think we're quite reserved as well in that kind of atmosphere. But I kind of wondered if that would be the same for the semi-final and the final, because you're not going to get the home fans, and it's going to be more. I guess the it'll be a proper basketball spectator, if you know what I mean. What I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I was really surprised. The atmosphere was bang on point. And yeah, lots of moments where the crowd were really up for it. There's definitely clearly
neutral courts.
People rooting for certain people, but yeah.
Yeah, neutral ground. That's a weird thing, isn't it, in a way? Because no one's at home, so you haven't got any home fans.
Yeah,
I guess
LA, the atmosphere was there. It's great.
LA
it
was
really good.
One of the closest places to that. Actually, LA, Phoenix, and stuff. They're all probably the closest places to Vegas.
Well, when we say close, it's not like a football, like where we drive 30, 40 minutes up the road. I mean, like that's them getting on a plane to get to these places, isn't it?
Yeah, so maybe 5-hour drive or whatever it is, I guess, from Vegas to LA,
but you know what I really liked, and Knicks might do this, I can't remember, but I really liked the way in the actual arena they blacked out the crowd. It's really unusual. I love that.
Yes.
I think maybe some of the BBL teams do it. I think Manchester might do it. I think Plymouth might do it as well.
Yes.
But it was really unique because it was blacked out. One of the things I really liked, I don't know if you saw it, was when someone shot a free throw or something like that, and it went in. This light went up, like throughout the crowd.
Yes. Yes.
Like from the court up out.
Yeah.
Sense. The light show that they put on. I mean, it's Vegas. You kind of, I suppose, in hindsight, I expect something like that. But it was. I loved it. I thought that really knocked that out the park. That with the atmosphere and the court and stuff like that. So it was great.
Yeah, they definitely did that whole the splash effects, and it wasn't tacky. But I guess the thing is with Vegas, it's easy to forget they've been hosting title boxing fights and MMA sort of stuff for decades now. That's it's not, they're not new to doing a spectacle, but doing it on that scale indoors is probably something slightly different, perhaps.
Yeah, and I can't help think it's a very big showcase of, look what happened if we had the Las Vegas poker chips, or whatever they'd call them, Las Vegas, I don't know, if they had an NBA team. I mean, it's a real showcase of this is what it'd be like.
Oh yeah, 100%. But that is the matter of time, isn't it?
Yeah. And the other thing that really stands out in this tournament for me, and I mean, this is a nice little segue into the semi-final, is I can't help think that rather having a series of best of 7, this one game winner takes all is changing everything, because you're getting unexpected teams like the Pacers advancing all the way to the finals, because every game is a game 7 rather than a 7-game series. And I love that. That's where the equivalent in England, where you have the FA Cup, where you get a non-league football team taking on a Premiership team, because they've advanced that far, because anything can happen in one game of basketball or one game of football. So that's what I really like.
They're used to multiple encounters with a team, aren't they? And they're used to encounters at home and away. And now it's suddenly, this is just one shot. And
there's loads of examples of 7-game series like that, where the underdog wins the first game and go, whoa, what's just happened? But then the team that's usually advances will go, oh, right, we still got another 6 games, it's fine. And that I always completely removes that.
I always think of the Magic in Toronto, because that was the year Toronto won it. And the Magic got the first game, and everyone was like, wow, where did that come from? And then the next 4, Toronto just flattened them. And it was just, oh, yeah, we're in the playoffs now. It was basically just went, oh, we just changed the gear. And then the next 4 games, Orlando didn't get a look in at all.
But I mean, that's this one game 7 is knockout basketball. It's just making everything a bit more. It's just making it a bit more interesting. It definitely looks, from a Vegas perspective, like the enthusiasm there was it looks mental, doesn't it? It looks really good.
Well, I saw one of the things from Rick Carlisle, and for those who don't know, Rick Carlisle is the head of the Pacers, is the head coach, formerly of the Mavs, formerly of the Pacers, bizarrely. But he was saying,
you say it's got a reference to the Mavs.
Of course it has. He was, he's been a very, very successful coach. And he said he finds it really exciting because not only is it given the team something to look for, like the European players like Giannis and that have said, in Europe, people play for cups during the league. And during the season, like there's more than one thing to play for, whereas in the NBA there's not. So it's nice to have something else. But what he was saying was that it actually is bringing elevation in terms of people watching the NBA during the period where it's usually NBA's quiet period. November, December is usually quite a quiet time for the NBA because football season's about to kick off in America, and American football is bigger than the NBA. It just is. There's more people who support it and more people who follow it and are much more deep rooted. And
I think that excitement has an impact on the atmosphere in
Massively.
the court games. That's what it just seems like anyway.
Well, there were teams who were trying to, after the pandemic, if you recall, they were trying to push the season so that it actually started, I think, towards the end of the January, and actually just changed the NBA season. And they were like, "This is our opportunity." I think Mark Cuban was one of those people as well. And the reason is because of TV rights. They'd be able to get more money, and they get more coverage if they move the season from where it is now to just after the Super Bowl. They get way more coverage. So
okay. Well, it's definitely had an effect, hasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely.
And I do hope they keep going with it.
Well, they've said this is not a one shot and try, but given who is going through, and given I think the disappointment that teams have had, I think this is going to be a fixture, certainly for the next 2 or 3 years, and then we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I agree. Right, well, let's go on. Who are we talking about first?
Well, you've just mentioned the first one, so why don't you crack on into that game?
Oh, did I? Well, so the Pacers and the Bucks. So, since the quarterfinals, I've been rooting for the Pacers, and it's just because I saw them play. And I said this on the last podcast. They just look like a hard-working team.
We saw both those teams play.
Yeah, I know. But it was just they surprised me when I saw them. I wasn't expecting just that team unit.
They were the team that did the shortest NBA game. That was them.
Oh, were they? Oh, that was that was annoying, that one. Yeah, but for me, Giannis was an absolute monster last night. Yeah. So I say last night. Is that what it'd be for? Oh, I don't know. Well, today for us, really, isn't it?
It is
this morning.
Yeah.
But he was an absolute monster, and he ended up with 37 points and 10 rebounds and 2 assists. But I've got to talk about Damian Lillard, because in the third quarter, they were down. I want to say they were down by like 12 points, maybe more. And Lillard's shooting was absolutely on point. And that's when the Bucks took the lead. And, Damian Lillard, he was absolutely on fire. And then whatever happened in the fourth quarter just destroyed Milwaukee's chance of winning. So from what I could see, just looking at some of the numbers here,
I've got the stat for you.
The Bucks 5 turnovers.
Yep.
They had 5 turnovers in the fourth quarter, which resulted in 10 points. They were out rebounded by the Pacers in the fourth quarter massively. That third quarter run that the Bucks went on was a 43-point run that they had in the third quarter. They reduced to 25 points in the fourth. And it just looked like Giannis and Lillard maybe might need a little bit more time to gel together. I don't know. That was just my interpretation. There was some great ball movement, but it just looked like they might need some more time. But
yeah,
Giannis was one of my favorite players in that game. He's just absolutely fantastic. But Haliburton.
Haliburton obviously is stealing the show at the moment. The Pacers there.
Yeah, he did. Well, he did on paper. He did on paper. So Halliburton, he had 27.7 rebounds and 15 assists.
You must look like a lunatic.
Me saying it like that in a car park,
yeah.
I get a lot of weird looks. But who cares? He deserves it. He deserves it. But you know one stat that I don't think's talked about? 0 turnovers.
Yeah.
By Halliburton.
So, yeah, and
which is good.
His average is like 25 points, 3 rebounds, and 0 turnovers, something like that. Which is.
I got to ask you, what you think of his shot?
It looks like a kind of a rushed shot, but it's yeah.
It's weird. It's every now and then his footwork is just. It just looks odd. I don't know what it is, but his right foot just goes really ahead. I don't know. It's unique, but I don't know. I'm not.
Look at Steph. Steph Curry has got a really odd shot. He throws almost like he flings the ball up really quickly. It's not a particularly pretty shot, and yet he's arguably the best shooter the NBA's ever seen. So you know,
essentially, yeah. Well, yeah, probably, yeah. But I for me,
go for it. I mean, the Pacers. You were saying about Halliburton. Just to say on that, he's one of the only players to have done that 3 games in a row, more than 25 points, 0 turnovers. Like, I don't think they've had. They said that's like a new thing in history because just no one does that with turnovers. And we did celebrate LeBron getting his 5,000th turnover, didn't we, recently?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a record that might go back to the 70s or something like that.
Yeah, it's an old
since they started counting turnovers. But for me, I mean, Halliburton was absolutely huge. But personally, Turner, for me, he was just there, all at the right times. Like for example, there's moments where Halliburton threw up. I was just about to say air ball. I don't think it was an air ball. No, I think he missed a shot, and who was there? Turner, bam, in, dunk. Turner seemed to be there at all the right moments, and he ended with 26 points and 10 rebounds.
Well, if you think the Pacers, they had the Pacers had 5 players who were on double points, and the Bucks only had 4, and therefore the Bucks were the main ones. It was Giannis, Dame, Middleton, and I think Brooke Lopez as well. But like that was it. It's a shame really, because I think if you look at it realistically, the Pacers were playing yesterday like the Bucks should play, and it's almost, although the Pacers don't have the stars in brackets, that they are the team that the Bucks want to be, because they are really effective in putting in a team performance. The Pacers got to that point by beating the Celtics, and when they beat the Celtics, they had 7 players in double points. 7 players, and those 7 players, they only were playing with a team of 9 in that Celtics game. So you can imagine the amount of minutes that people had. Everyone's getting like between 20 to 35 minutes. Everyone. And everyone's putting in good numbers. It's a whole complete team effort. Then you go forward and you play the Bucks. It's the same thing again. And the Pacers to the Bucks coming off the bench, 43 to 13. That's the difference between the 2 benches.
Yeah,
it's massive.
That is massive.
As soon as the stars come off for the Bucks, it just drops off a cliff. Take those 4
I could be
out.
wrong. I could be wrong here, but I think the Bucks mainly had about 8 players working. I think. I mean, there was another 2 guys who came in for like 1 minute and 4 minutes, but generally you had 8 guys working on the court.
Yeah.
Whereas the Pacers, it looked like a bit of a wider spread. Everyone, like a lot more even the bench players were in double digits and stuff like that.
So that brings us onto the other game that was played last night.
The Lakers taking on the Pelicans. Now, look, Mark, this was the absolute, you've got to say it as a blowout, right?
Yeah. 133-89.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think I'd ever say this, but LeBron James just 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists.
Yeah, that was pretty special, wasn't it? That's a pretty special performance.
Yeah, that was a great performance from him. And look, you got to say that he scored 30 points in 22 minutes and 32 seconds.
I think that warrants a round of applause. We don't give LeBron applause that often. So.
Well, he only played 6 minutes in the third, and he didn't play in the fourth altogether. And the other stat, which I really like, is the contribution stat when that player's on the court. And for LeBron, he was a plus 36 whilst he was in the game, and it was a plus 8 whilst he wasn't in the game.
Plus 36, jeez. That's how that's the stat that makes you say how much better your whole team is, effectively.
That's a huge contribution. But I mean, look, from the rest of the team, look, Reeves 17 points, Prince 15 points, Russell 14 points, and Davis, he had a fairly good contribution with 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists.
Well, it's nice to see him doing something. I'm still not convinced by him at the moment. He's never been consistent enough, but you know. They have won a chip.
He's doing all right. He did all right last night. They got through. And in the contrast, you got Trey Murphy, the third, 14 points, 3 rebounds. Zion Williamson, 13.2 rebounds. And that's pretty much the contribution from them.
It's harsh to say, but I've never heard of Trey Murphy the third, and it's no disrespect to him. But
well, he's got an amazing name, Mark.
That is a great name.
So
but
it is a great name.
I
was surprised how few rebounds Williamson had.
Yeah, he's a big guy, isn't he?
Because he's explosive in and around the basket. So to have 2 rebounds a whole game.
But how many points did he get again?
I was a little surprised by that. 13 points.
It's not
not for a lack of effort. It wasn't for a lack of effort that they lost. You know, the Lakers just were absolutely on fire. And, you know, they outscored them by 30 points, 3-point range. They dominated on the boards.
Throttled Ingram quite a lot, and he was a big scorer when they were playing previously. And when they played the Kings, I think he was like 30 points or something. And I think Zion was about 10, 15 points as well that game. So 13 points for him. This game's not pretty, that different maybe. I would just expect him to get a few more points. I don't know why, but I just expect more from him, I guess. But Ingram clearly he wasn't even double digits, I don't think, on this game.
Well, I think championship quality ouch.
But they exposed them. The Lakers exposed them, and Lakers have not just shown for this cup, but also for the rest of the season. Like, if you want to throttle the Pelicans, just knock out these couple of guys, and then keep them at bay, and then you can just run riot on them. Because that's 44, 46 point game. That's 40.
Wow, Mark, you should be an assistant coach. That's so easy.
Listen, if Greg
take out this guy and
get Greg Popovich, get him to give me a call. I'll take over the Spurs. Sure.
What number should he call you on?
He can call me on 0800. Never mind your own business.
It's 07.
It is 07. That's right, and that's where it ends.
7.
No.
Okay.
No, it's not the old phone number.
8.
It's not the old phone number you used to
079.
give out to
Go with
people.
one of those.
I think that was funny. That still haunts me.
It was funny.
It wasn't funny.
Well, and the other thing I just want to touch on briefly, which I really respected LeBron for saying, was after the in the press, he brought up the Las Vegas shootings, and he gave his opinion on that, and can only respect someone of who's idolized and stuff, and he's got a platform for people to listen to highlight where he thinks there should be change. So that was just one of the things that I did notice with noted on LeBron, and just I just respect him for having his view on that. But now the Lakers are in the final against the Pacers on Saturday.
Yeah, that's really, really good, isn't it? Really, really exciting.
You're going to jump on the bandwagon, yeah?
I've got to stay with them. I backed them to get this far. I just think LeBron
you're
wants
on the Lakers bandwagon, yeah?
No, I'm definitely not on the bandwagon. They're the ones I think will win. I think LeBron wants it more than anyone else. I think he wants it. He wants it. He wants his name on it. He wants to be the first person in history to pick that up and touch it and have his name on it. And if he wins that, if they win that, he wins the MVP. There's no question. So then he gets...
Oh, yeah, easily.
Then he wins an MVP and he wins a trophy. Two things that here's a stat that he can't have against Jordan. So that's one stat that he'll have above him because he won't get those other 2 rings. So it's you know.
Jordan might come out of retirement again just to say, right, I'm going for the cup. Might happen.
Unlikely.
And they become the oldest player. Another stat you can get. But no, look, you're looking at the history. The Lakers have won 17 NBA championships. I mean, I know some of them are like with the Minneapolis Lakers and stuff like that. But the Indiana Pacers, Mark, have got 0 NBA championships.
Yeah. And
they've only managed to get to the NBA championship finals on 1 occasion. And that was in 2000. And in the finals, they lost to the Los Angeles Lakers. So there's a bit of history there. So I think there's a little bit of romanticism if the Pacers do win it. And I know people talk about LeBron's legacy and all of that, but you got to argue LeBron, by getting to the final, his legacy is part of this first NBA Cup, because if the Lakers win it, okay, yeah, he's going to probably get MVP, and, you know, one of the all-time greats is going to be established as the first winner of the NBA Cup, which will just enhance that trophy throughout the years, I think. But if he doesn't win and the Pacers win this trophy, well, some of his legacy is being beaten in championship finals. So I still think you have that bit of legacy of LeBron will always be associated with this first ever NBA Cup, no matter what happens now.
Yeah.
Personally, I've been sticking with the Pacers, so I'm going to stick with the Pacers now. And I'd like to see him win it, because it then again highlights anyone can win. Like, it's that one game, winner takes all kind of thing, like round, and in any game anything can happen. And you know, especially that last game, Turner, for me, I thought was exceptional. But you know, Halliburton, it's got to be in contention for that MVP at the moment if they win. So let's see what happens. Let the dice of the NBA Cup get rolled, and let's see where the cards land, so to speak.
It's exciting, and regardless of the result, in many respects, it's done its job, isn't it? It's made people excited about what's happening at this point of the season, when, you know, there's people are just warming up to the NBA. I'm like, oh, has it started? Oh, okay, yeah. How many games are we in? Oh, how are they doing? You know, some people are just warming into the NBA and really don't pick it up until around Christmas and thereafter.
You better turn your TV on Saturday, because that is when the finals played. Well, Sunday morning for us.
Rumour has it that they're playing it a bit later because there's a badminton tournament on first.
Wow. That is a
Can
disgrace.
Can you imagine if someone said, oh, this is the court we've got, and it had badminton lines on it? Can you imagine that? They'd be like, what's this? This is not
Maybe
acceptable.
they should do a retro one with like faded badminton lines.
Yeah,
so
make it look like an old school sort of one.
Anyway,
people would love it. They've done all these really bright, fancy ones. I don't know what the final one's actually going to be. I think it's its own unique thing, isn't it? The floor.
Yeah. I can't remember what the floor was last night. I know was it a purple stripe for the Bucks and the Pacers one? So maybe they bring the two courts together. I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't remember what the courts were. But I think I will be ignoring all. I'll be coming off the Matrix, and then Sunday morning I'll watch the game.
Yeah.
Effectively, like it is live.
I think it's worth you saying that it's the hardest thing to do at the moment, because even if you unclick the scores on NBA, the apps, sometimes they forget that, and then you open it up and then bang, it's there, or you go on Instagram.
Oh, it's so difficult from this side of the pond.
Yeah,
so difficult, because you literally just got to come off everything, like Facebook. You got to come off everything, especially with a final like this. Like, you got to wake up in the morning, do not touch your phone, do not check messages, because you'll get one person message you going, "Do you see LeBron? We lift that trophy last night," or whatever it is.
Or it'll be the BBC.
You just got to just come off everything.
It'll be the BBC or something saying, "Lakers fall to so and so," and you're like, "What?"
Look, if you don't want to know the results,
just don't
go
looking
for news,
Yeah.
or social media. wake up on Sunday morning, go downstairs, just watch even if it's the highlights, watch them fresh. That's what I'd say.
Just so
or the extended highlights, but I'll be watching the game Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So right, that's it, Mark. Yeah, we're doing an update on Sunday.
Yeah, we've got another one coming, and
let's talk about the Pacers win. Yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, we'll have
how many points you going, Pi?
Oh, I think this will be a sub 10 points. I don't think it will be a blowout. I think this will be a tightly fought game, maybe 6 or 7 points, maybe.
I agree, and I'm going to continue with my trend. Actually, no, I'm going to disagree. Just to disagree, I'm going to say Pacers win by 10 points.
Okay.
Then it's slightly different.
Yep.
So you're saying Lakers by less than 10?
Less than 7. Do it that way. So in that way, you've got that ambiguous no man's land in the middle.
I'm going to change mine and say Pacers by 8 or more.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Right. Well, I'm signing off from my lunchtime studio.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode. That is the end of this part. But do not worry, because coming soon is the second part of this episode, and it will be available soon.